Welcome to Sleeping History. If you are struggling with insomnia, stress, or a restless mind, you have found your sanctuary. Take a moment to support our channel by subscribing now, ensuring you never miss our deep sleep historical journeys. Now close your eyes, take a deep breath, and let the worries of today fade away. The cobblestones beneath your feet are cool and damp with the midnight mist of 1790. Every step you take down this deserted New England coastal lane feels like a gentle departure from the modern world, drawing you deeper into a time where nights were governed only by the tides and the stars. The faint, rhythmic washing of the ocean against the heavy timber pylons of the wharf creates a steady, unchanging pulse that matches the slow rhythm of your own breathing. As you look toward the shoreline, the great merchant vessels lie perfectly motionless, their massive wooden hulls cradled by the dark, mirror-like water. The great canvas sails that caught the Atlantic winds by day are now tightly furled against the yards, bound in heavy hemp ropes that creak softly, ever so softly, as the ships rock in place. It is a sound of absolute security, a gentle lullaby born of wood, rope, and water, designed to remind your mind that all journeys for the day have ended, and all travelers have found their rest. You walk past the rows of old Colonial storefronts, their dark glass windows reflecting the silver luminescence of the crescent moon. Behind those panes lie quiet workshops, the cooperage, the sailmaker's loft, the apothecary, all wrapped in profound silence, holding the faint smells of beeswax, dried lavender, and cut pine. There are no lights inside, no voices, and no tasks left unfinished. The entire economy of the town has paused, surrendering completely to the mandatory peace of the midnight hour. The path leads you gradually upward toward the stone clock tower that overlooks the eastern edge of the bay. The structure rises against the starlit sky like a benevolent guardian, its dark granite blocks weathered by generations of ocean gales. As you approach the entrance, the massive oak door stands slightly ajar, releasing a soft, ambient warmth that carries the rich fragrance of aged paper and dried ink. Stepping inside, you find yourself at the base of a wide, spiral wooden staircase. The air in the tower is still and perfectly balanced, free from the chill of the coastal breeze. With absolute slowness, you begin to ascend, your footsteps muffled by the thick timber of the steps. With each step you take, the distance between you and the worries of the waking world grows wider, until the thoughts of tomorrow dissolve into the ancient atmosphere of the tower. Reaching the upper observatory chamber, the space opens into a magnificent circular room surrounded by high, arched windows. Through these openings, the vast panorama of the Atlantic Ocean stretches out into infinity, its black waves shimmering under the weight of thousands of distant constellations. At the center of the room stands a monumental brass telescope, its polished metal catching the amber glow of a solitary oil lamp resting on a heavy mahogany desk. Beside the desk, an old astronomer sits quietly in a high-backed leather chair. He wears a tailored dark wool coat from a bygone era, his silver hair catching the ambient moonlight. His movements are slow, deliberate, and entirely free of haste. He turns a small brass wheel on the side of the telescope, causing the great instrument to align with a distant star cluster. The tiny, metallic clicking of the internal gears is incredibly rhythmic and soothing, sounding like the gentle ticking of a pocket watch buried deep beneath a velvet cushion. Spread across the table are large, hand-drawn star charts and naval maps, their edges gently curled with age. The ink lines trace the paths of wandering planets and the ancient names of celestial bodies. The old astronomer pauses, looking out the window with the expression of absolute peace. He does not speak, for words are unnecessary in this place of deep silence. His presence alone is a reassurance that the universe is operating in perfect order, and that it is safe for you to let go of your vigilance. You find a comfortable bench near the opposite window, lined with soft wool blankets. As you sit down, the warmth from the small brick hearth in the corner washes over you, relaxing every muscle in your back and shoulders. The rhythmic ticking of the tower's great clock mechanism echoes from the floor below, a deep, resonant, and steady sound that anchors the room in a state of timeless tranquility. Looking back out at the harbor, you see the single lantern on the distant dock slowly swinging in the wind, casting a long, lazy arc of golden light across the dark water. The arc moves back and forth, guiding your eyes into a heavy, comfortable state of drowsiness. The sky above seems to lower itself like a dark velvet canopy, wrapping the entire Colonial town, the silent ships, the old library, and your tired mind in a protective embrace of absolute rest. The astronomer gently closes his leather-bound journal, placing his quill down on the wooden stand. The ink is dry. The observations for the night are complete. He leans back in his chair, closing his eyes as the steady warmth of the room lulls him into a gentle slumber. The flame of the oil lamp burns low, flickering softly before settling into a dim, steady ember that barely alters the peaceful darkness of the room. The deep bronze bell at the top of the tower begins to strike the midnight hour, but the sound is modified by the heavy stone walls, reaching your ears as a soft, musical vibration rather than a sharp ring. It vibrates through the timber floor, through the wool blankets, and through your body, dissolving the last remaining traces of tension in your mind. The world of 1790 is completely asleep, suspended in a beautiful historical dream, and you are free to join it. Sleep now. Let the darkness carry you away. Sleep deep. Sleep well. The deep, muffled chime of the midnight bell from the stone tower slowly fades into the damp night air of 1790, leaving a profound, unbreakable silence in its wake. As the old astronomer slumbers peacefully in his high-backed leather chair, you gently rise from the wooden bench, wrapped securely in your warm, wool blanket. Leaving the quiet sanctuary of the upper observatory chamber, you softly descend the spiral timber steps, your boots making no sound against the ancient wood. With every step downward, the world grows more still, guiding you out into the moonlit, misty lanes of the coastal New England town. The air outside has grown cooler, carrying the thick, refreshing scent of the salt sea and the crisp aroma of damp pine needles from the surrounding forests. The rolling silver fog begins to creep into the narrow streets, blanketing the cobblestones in a soft, glowing shroud that catches the pale light of the crescent moon. You walk slowly toward the southern edge of the harbor, where the oldest wooden fishing boats are moored to the stone piers. The water here is as dark and smooth as obsidian, undisturbed by the gentle midnight breeze. The small boats sway in perfect, rhythmic unison, their timber hulls softly nudging the moss-covered stone. Clack, pause, clack. The sound is incredibly slow and predictable, acting as a natural lullaby that slows your thoughts down to a peaceful crawl. As you look along the shoreline, you see the dark, weathered outline of the old cooperage and sailmaker's shop. The heavy wooden shutters are tightly closed and barred for the night, locking away the tools of the daytime trade. There are no ledgers to balance, no cargo to load, and no deadlines to meet in this quiet era. The entire harbor has completely surrendered its industrious life to the dark hours, existing only as a safe place of absolute rest. Every historical structure around you feels like a silent guardian, protecting you from the noise and worries of the modern world. The path bends away from the main docks, leading you up a gentle slope toward an old stone-walled orchard that overlooks the bay. The gray stone walls are covered in soft green lichen, holding the cool moisture of the midnight dew. Ancient apple trees, planted by the town's first settlers, stand completely motionless against the starlit sky, their twisted branches resting under the weight of the silver fog. In the center of the orchard, a small timber pavilion built from hand-hewn oak beams offers a peaceful shelter from the coastal mist. Inside, a simple bench invites you to sit and watch the slow dance of the constellations above. The sky is a brilliant, vast expanse of dark velvet, completely free from the glow of modern lights. Thousands of silver stars and distant galaxies blink slowly, casting a faint, cosmic illumination over the sleeping town below. Looking down at the harbor, you see a single glass lantern hanging from the mast of a grand merchant ship, swinging ever so slightly in the calm air. The light moves back and forth, painting long, lazy golden arcs across the mirror-like water. Watching this steady, repetitive movement, your eyelids feel incredibly heavy, your body sinking deeper into the solid, comfortable support of the wooden bench. The silence of the vast New England wilderness stretches out behind the town for thousands of miles, wrapping the entire coastal settlement in an immense, unbreakable blanket of tranquility. The ink on the town's records has dried, the ships are asleep, the stone streets are sleeping, and your mind is completely free to let go of its vigilance. The heavy darkness of 1790 surrounds you like a protective cocoon, keeping you safe and warm in the quiet depths of the past. Sleep now. Let the slow tide of history carry your thoughts away. Sleep deep. Sleep well. The cool, heavy fog of 1790 continue to roll inward from the vast Atlantic Ocean, slowly erasing the edges of the old stone walls and wrapping the entire orchard in a thick, protective shroud of silver. Leaving the quiet pavilion behind, where the ancient apple trees stand like silent guardians in the dark, you slowly step back onto the winding hillside path. The ground here is soft, heavily cushioned by thick layers of fallen pine needles, dried moss, and damp earth that completely absorb the sound of your movements. Every slow, deliberate step you take feels effortlessly light, drawing you further into the quiet depths of this midnight landscape, entirely disconnected from the noise and haste of the modern world. Down below the high ridge, the ocean carries on its eternal, rhythmic dialogue with the New England shoreline. The water does not crash against the land. Instead, it glides with absolute grace over the smooth, ancient rocks, creating a deep, resonant murmur that rises through the misty air. Hush. Pause. Hush. The sound is vast, steady, and perfectly predictable, vibrating faintly through the earth and into your body. This ancient cadence acts like a gentle, unseen hand, slowing down the busy thoughts in your mind, easing your breathing into a slow, deep pattern that perfectly matches the rhythm of the resting world. With each breath, the cool, crisp night air fills your lungs with the clean, natural scents of damp fern, wild cedar, and the pure salt of the sea. Looking back toward the town, the distant silhouettes of the Colonial buildings appear as dark, peaceful shapes resting beneath the starry sky. The grand timber library, the massive stone clock tower, and the quiet rows of merchant shops are now completely buried under the soft, silver fog. Every heavy oak door is barred for the night. Every window shutter is tightly fastened, and every single soul within the settlement has surrendered completely to the restorative power of sleep. The intense labor of the daytime, the heavy lifting of cargo at the docks, the writing of trade ledgers, the navigation of great ships across the ocean, is fully finished. The entire history of this old world has agreed to pause, leaving the absolute stillness of this midnight sanctuary entirely to you. The path gradually leads you down the northern slope of the hill, away from the coastal cliffs and toward a secluded valley where an old, stone-walled mill house stands. The massive wooden water wheel, which turns tirelessly during the day to grind the town's grain, is now completely frozen in absolute silence, resting dark and still above the stream. The water beneath the wheel flows softly under a small, arched granite bridge, its gentle, bubbling voice creating a continuous, hypnotic melody that echoes through the quiet valley. You pause at the center of the bridge, leaning against the cool, solid stone railing, and look down at the dark, glass-like surface of the moving stream. The reflections of the brightest stars dance gently on the water, breaking into tiny points of silver light before drifting away into the shadows. Beyond the mill house, a long row of ancient elm trees creates a dense, protective canopy over a deserted dirt lane that winds its way back toward the quiet outskirts of the harbor town. The heavy, low-hanging branches reach out across the lane to touch one another, completely filtering the pale light of the crescent moon into soft, intricate patterns of silver and shadow upon the ground. Walking beneath this natural archway, you feel an immense sense of shelter and absolute safety, as if the ancient trees are wrapping you in a warm, velvet blanket. The air here is perfectly still, completely untroubled by the ocean breeze, holding only the peaceful silence of the deep American wilderness that stretches out for thousands of miles behind the settlement. As you follow the winding lane, your eyes grow increasingly heavy, the profound tranquility of the night pressing gently upon your eyelids. Every muscle in your body has completely let go of its tension, from the tips of your fingers to the heavy weight of your shoulders, sinking effortlessly into a state of total, comfortable surrender. The slow, rhythmic lapping of the water against the distant docks, the gentle rustle of the elm leaves above, and the deep, comforting darkness of the 18th century night all work together, singing a quiet, wordless lullaby to your tired mind. There is absolutely nothing you need to fix tonight, nothing you need to plan, and nowhere else you need to go. You are perfectly safe, entirely at rest, and free to drift away into the endless depth of a deep, dreamless sleep. Leaving behind the quiet shelter of the ancient elm tree canopy and the soft, rhythmic bubbling of the old mill stream, you continue your silent journey down the deserted dirt lane of 1790. The silver mist still hangs heavily in the air, drifting lazily around your shoulders and softening the edges of the quiet world around you. As you walk further along the outskirts of the harbor town, the lane gradually transitions from soft earth back into the smooth, damp cobblestones of a small residential avenue. On either side, the dark timber houses of the townspeople stand in absolute stillness, their brick chimneys cold, and their small, multi-paned glass windows reflecting the faint, ethereal glow of the midnight sky. Every step you take is perfectly synchronized with the profound peace of this late hour, drawing you deeper and deeper into a state of absolute, uninterrupted tranquility. The air here feels incredibly heavy and still, completely sheltered from the direct wind of the open Atlantic by the high stone cliffs you passed earlier. It carries the rich, comforting fragrance of burning oak wood from the evening's dying fires, mixed with the faint, sweet scent of dried hay from a nearby livery stable. The silence in this part of the town is so deep that you can faintly hear the distant, majestic sigh of the pine forests on the hills behind you, a soft, continuous soughing sound that mimics the gentle rise and fall of your own steady breathing. There are no modern distractions here, no flashing lights, and no urgent demands on your time. The historical night has completely isolated you from the worries of the waking world, creating a sacred space where your mind is permitted to fully let go of its vigilance. As you wander further down the cobblestone avenue, you notice a low, long stone building with a heavy cedar-shingled roof that has turned an elegant silver gray with age. This is the town's communal weaving house, a place where wool from the valley farms is spun into warm blankets and cloth during the busy daylight hours. Looking through the dark glass of the low window, you can see the heavy wooden looms standing completely motionless in the shadows, their long threads of yarn hanging silent and still in the midnight air. The great iron shears and wooden spinning wheels rest peacefully on the workbenches, their daily labor finished, fully surrendering to the quiet mandate of the night. The sight of these resting tools reinforces the truth that all work for the day has successfully ended, and there is absolutely nothing left for you to think about or achieve. The cobblestone path slowly curves downward, guiding your steps back toward the southern edge of the main harbor basin. As you approach the water's edge, the density of the silver fog increases, wrapping the base of the wooden docks in a soft, glowing cloud. The great merchant vessels you saw from the clock tower are still resting in the exact same positions, their massive wooden hulls floating completely motionless on the dark, glass-like surface of the bay. The faint, rhythmic creaking of the hemp ropes against the timber pylons continues its slow, hypnotic song. Creak, pause, creak, sounding like a gentle, mechanical heartbeat that anchors the entire harbor in a state of timeless rest. You find a smooth, dry stone steps leading down to the water's edge and pause there, wrapping your thick wool blanket tightly around you as you gaze out into the misty void. From this vantage point, the crescent moon appears briefly through a break in the heavy fog, casting a long, narrow path of silver light directly across the smooth surface of the water toward your feet. The silver path shifts and shimmers with absolute slowness, like a ribbon of silk moving in a gentle current. Watching this steady, predictable movement, your eyes grow incredibly heavy, the remaining thoughts in your logical mind dissolving into the dark, quiet depths of the Atlantic. Every muscle in your body, from your heavy eyelids down to the tips of your fingers, completely relaxes, sinking effortlessly into the solid support of the ancient stone step. The world of 1790 is completely at peace, suspended in a beautiful, historical dream, and you are free to drift away into its endless, comforting depth. Sleep now. Let the silver light guide your mind. Sleep deep. Sleep well. Sitting upon the smooth, cool stone steps at the water's edge, watching the silver ribbon of moonlight slowly dissolve back into the rolling Atlantic fog, you finally rise to continue your peaceful journey through 1790. Leaving the immediate edge of the southern harbor basin, your steps take you inward once more, away from the rhythmic creaking of the ship ropes and toward the ancient heart of the settlement. The cobblestones beneath your feet are damp with the gathering night mist, glowing softly under the faint, celestial light that filters through the thick canopy of fog. The town remains locked in an absolute, unbreakable slumber, its silent streets offering a perfect, undisturbed sanctuary where your mind is free to release its final hold on the waking world. The path leads you directly into the historic Marketplace Square, a wide open plaza that serves as the town's gathering place during the bustling daylight hours. Now, the open-air stalls and heavy wooden tables where merchants once shouted their prices stand completely empty and perfectly still under the dark midnight sky. The scent of sweet spices, dried tobacco leaves, and freshly ground flour still lingers faintly in the cool air, trapped beneath the heavy timber roofs of the surrounding buildings. Walking across this deserted plaza, the profound stillness of the empty market underscores the beautiful reality of the night. The commerce of the world has entirely ceased, the ledgers are put away, and there is absolutely no pressure on you to produce, to plan, or to think. At the far corner of the square stands a low, sturdy brick structure with large arched window frames made of blackened iron. This is the town's ancient blacksmith forge, a place of intense heat and heavy iron clanking during the day, now completely cold and beautifully silent. Looking through the dark glass panes, you can see the massive iron anvil resting on its thick oak base, its polished surface reflecting the pale moonbeams like a smooth sheet of silver ice. The great leather bellows hang completely deflated from the heavy ceiling beams, and the dark charcoal in the hearth is cold and still, holding no embers, no heat, and no movement. The total absence of sound and fire in a place once so loud creates an incredibly heavy, soothing sense of peace that wraps around your thoughts like a heavy velvet blanket. Leaving the marketplace square, you follow a narrow, rising lane lined with small, neat brick cottages that belong to the town's shipbuilders and master mariners. The small gardens in front of these homes are filled with midnight flowers that bloom only in the dark, their petals releasing a faint, sweet perfume that blends perfectly with the clean, cooling aroma of the sea salt air. Every shutter on every window is drawn tight, protecting the deep, restorative sleep of the families inside. As you walk past these peaceful homes, your breathing naturally slows down even further, deep and effortless, finding a steady, comforting rhythm that mirrors the absolute serenity of the neighborhood. There is no rush along this lane, no destination you must reach quickly, and nothing you need to accomplish before the morning sun rises. The lane crests at the top of a small hill,
revealing an old, circular stone courtyard that surrounds the town's communal water well. The well is built from heavy, moss-covered granite blocks, with a small conical roof made of weathered cedar shingles protecting the dark depths below. A heavy wooden bucket rests peacefully on the stone lip, its thick hemp rope wound tightly and securely around the iron axle. You approach the well and lean softly against the cool granite wall, looking down into the darkness where the water rests perfectly still, mirroring a solitary star that has found a gap in the midnight mist. The complete immensity of the silence here is deep and absolute, anchoring your body and mind in a state of timeless, effortless tranquility. Your eyelids feel heavier than they ever have before, weighed down by the dense, comforting atmosphere of this 18th century night. Every single muscle in your body has completely surrendered its remaining tension, from the top of your head down to the tips of your toes, sinking gracefully into a state of total, comfortable relaxation. The distant, lazy sigh of the ocean breeze, the faint, sweet scent of the night flowers, the protective darkness of the ancient harbor town work in perfect harmony, singing a silent, beautiful lullaby to your resting mind. You're entirely safe, completely at peace, free to drift away to deep, dreamless sleep. Sleep. Let the quiet courtyard hold you. Sleep deep. Sleep well.
Leaving the quiet stone courtyard and the absolute stillness of the ancient communal well, your footsteps softly guide you away from the crest of the hill. The rolling silver fog of 1790 continues to thicken, drifting down the narrow lanes like a gentle tide, softening the sharp edges of the brick cottages and wrapping the entire settlement in a deeper layer of midnight mystery. You descend the slope along a path less traveled, where the cobblestones slowly give way to wide, flat slabs of dark slate stone. This path wraps around the western boundary of the town, leading you toward a magnificent, long timber structure that serves as the community's schoolhouse and center of learning during the daylight hours. The schoolhouse stands completely dark and silent under the heavy canopy of the midnight sky. Its large glass windows, framed in thick white pine, are perfectly still, reflecting the pale, diffused light of the stars that manage to pierce through the heavy mist. Peering softly through the glass, you can see the long wooden benches and rows of small writing desks standing in perfect formation, completely empty and wrapped in deep shadows. The large chalkboard at the front of the room is wiped perfectly clean, and a row of leather-bound grammar books rests peacefully on the master's desk, their pages closed and their lessons finished for the day. There are no questions to answer here, no facts to memorize, and no expectations to meet. The pursuit of knowledge has paused, surrendering entirely to the grand, quiet wisdom of the night. The scent of dry chalk, aged paper, and old cedar oil drifts faintly from the building, blending with the clean, cooling air of the coastal evening. As you walk past the schoolhouse yard, you feel a deep sense of relief washing over your mind, realizing that the structured demands of life have absolutely no power over this midnight sanctuary. The path turns sharply toward the east, drawing you back down toward a low-lying area near the edge of the marshes, where the town's master cooper operates his workshop. The air here carries a different, deeply grounding fragrance, the rich, warm aroma of charred oak wood, sweet pine resin, and iron bands.
The cooper's workshop is a massive open front, its heavy wooden doors pulled tightly shut and secured with a thick iron bolt. Outside the entrance, rows of completed wooden barrels and cedar casks stand assembled in perfect, orderly lines, waiting for the merchant ships to claim them when the new week begins. These barrels, built to hold the preservation of the town's harvest, rest motionless under the silver dew, their metal hoops gleaming faintly in the moonlight. The sight of these sturdy, completed vessels creates a profound feeling of completion and stability within you. The heavy hammers are resting on the workbenches, the iron hoops are cold, and the busy construction of the day has been completely laid to rest. Your steps slow down even further as you follow the marsh path. The gentle, repetitive sound of the water reeds swaying in the faint coastal breeze, creating a hypnotic rhythm that perfectly coordinates with the slow, effortless rise and fall of your chest. The fog settles low, transforming the nearby marsh grass into a vast, glowing sea of silver and white, isolating you completely from any remaining connection to the waking world. You are the only wanderer in this peaceful historical landscape, a silent observer of a world that has mastered the art of complete, restorative rest. Every element of the environment, from the cold iron of the forge to the silent books in the schoolhouse, is telling your mind that it is safe to surrender. Your eyelids feel incredibly heavy, pulled down by the beautiful, dense tranquility of this late 18th century night. Every muscle in your body has completely released its final hold on tension. Your limbs feeling beautifully weighted and relaxed as you sink into the absolute safety of this historical dream. The slow, rhythmic rustle of the reeds, the comforting scent of the oak timber, and the endless, protective blanket of the silver mist all combine to sing a final, perfect lullaby to your tired mind. There is nothing left to watch, nothing left to analyze, and nowhere else you need to be. You are entirely safe, perfectly protected, and free to dissolve into the endless, comforting depth of a deep, dreamless sleep. Sleep now. Let the silver marsh carry your thoughts. Sleep deep. Sleep well.
Leaving the quiet marsh path and the static lines of the cooper's workshop, your footsteps take you back toward the cobblestone center of 1790. The thick fog covers the coastal town, creating a world of total stillness, where every house, wall, and dock is hidden in the midnight peace. You walk along a wide street, lined with tall brick buildings that contain the merchant offices and shipping companies. The large wooden signs hanging above the doorways stay completely motionless in the night air, their letters illuminated by the light of the stars. Every single detail of this historical landscape indicates that all business has ended, leaving the night entirely clear for your rest. As you move down the avenue, you pass the town's communal bakery, a sturdy brick building with a wide chimney that is now cold. Through the dark glass of the front window, the large brick ovens stand empty and quiet, their wooden paddles resting against the wall, and the long prep tables wiped clean. The scent of baked grain and flour remains in the air, creating a sense of security and warmth that relaxes your mind. There are no workers inside, no heavy flour sacks being moved, and no tasks left to complete before the morning bell. The quiet state of this busy space indicates that it is safe to pause, to let go of the day, and to accept the comfort of the night. The path leads toward the eastern edge of the harbor basin, where a long wooden pier extends out into the calm, dark water of the bay. You walk to the end of the pier, your footsteps making no sound against the thick, weathered planks of timber that have been seasoned by the ocean salt. On either side of the pier, several small sailing boats rest in perfect alignment, their dark wooden hulls floating completely motionless on the flat surface of the sea. The complete absence of movement on the water creates a mirror that reflects the stars above, making you feel as though you are walking through a universe of pure tranquility. You find a smooth, dry wooden bench at the end of the pier and sit down, keeping your wool blanket across your shoulders. From this position, the stillness of the night is absolute and unbroken. The distant forest on the hills remains a dark, unmoving wall against the sky, and the ocean stretches out before you like an endless field of dark velvet. Your eyelids feel heavy, influenced by the calm atmosphere of this historical sanctuary. Every muscle in your body has released its hold on tension, your limbs feeling heavy and warm as you relax into the solid support of the timber bench. The dark sky, the clean air, and the absolute lack of motion in the town all assist in bringing your mind to a state of total rest. You are safe, protected, and free to enter a deep sleep. Sleep now. Let the quiet harbor occupy your mind. Sleep deep. Sleep well. Leaving the long wooden pier at the eastern edge of the harbor basin, where the sailing boats rest in the dark water, your steps take you back to the stone avenues of 1790. The thick fog covers the coastal town, creating a setting of total physical stillness, where every structure is hidden in the midnight hours. You walk along a wide street, bordered by tall brick buildings that contain the merchant offices of the old port. The large wooden signs hanging above the doors are entirely motionless in the night. Every single object in this landscape indicates that all daily business is over, leaving the night completely clear for your rest. As you move down the street, you pass the local pottery workshop, a solid stone building with a cold kiln. Through the dark glass of the front window, the wooden pottery wheels stand empty and still. The long wooden shelves hold completed clay jars and ceramic plates, all arranged in perfect lines. The faint scent of dry clay and damp earth remains in the room, creating a grounded sense of order. There are no workers inside, no materials being moved, and no tasks left to complete before the morning. The absolute pause in this workspace demonstrates that it is safe to stop all thoughts and accept the stillness of the night. The path leads toward the western gate of the town, where a small stone guardhouse stands vacant. You walk near the heavy iron gates, which are locked securely for the night with a thick metal bar. Outside the gate, the empty road extends into the dark landscape of the countryside, entirely free from travelers. The fields and distant hills are silent shapes against the night sky, completely stationary and calm. You find a heavy wooden bench near the guardhouse and sit down, keeping your wool blanket across your shoulders for comfort. From this position, the stillness of the night is complete and continuous. Your eyelids feel heavy, influenced by the calm atmosphere of this historic location. Every muscle in your body has released its tension, and your arms and legs feel relaxed as you sit on the wooden bench. The dark sky, the clean air, and the absolute lack of motion in the town all assist in bringing your mind to a state of total rest.
You are safe, protected, and free to enter a deep sleep. Sleep now. Let the quiet town occupy your mind. Sleep deep. Sleep well.
Leaving the heavy wooden bench near the western gate and the silent stone guardhouse behind, your slow steps take you back along the interior stone wall of the Colonial settlement. The thick fog remains low and dense, maintaining a state of total physical stillness where every structure is resting in the quiet midnight hours. You walk along a narrow lane bordered by the dark, quiet homes of the town weavers. The wooden looms inside stand empty, and the large baskets of spun wool are tucked away neatly for the night. Every single object in this neighborhood indicates that all creative labors have ended, leaving the clear night entirely free for your complete comfort and rest. As you move farther down the lane, you pass the town's old ropewalk building, a remarkably long and low wooden structure where the heavy ship cables are made. Through the dark glass of the small side windows, the long hemp fibers hang motionless from the ceiling hooks. The heavy iron twisting wheels are completely still, resting on the worn timber floor. The faint, clean scent of tar and dry hemp remains in the space, creating a grounded feeling of structure, order, and security. There are no artisans inside, no heavy ropes being coiled, and no unfinished work remaining before the sunrise. The total pause in this long workspace demonstrates that it is safe to quiet your mind, let go of your thoughts, and accept the deep stillness of the night. The path eventually opens up to the central courtyard of the Colonial Custom House, where a wide stone plaza sits completely vacant. You walk near the main entrance where the large wooden counting tables stand under the open porch, their surfaces wiped clean and their ledger books locked away in heavy iron chests. The great iron scales used for weighing cargo are secured with thick leather straps, entirely stationary in the night air. The vast empty space of the plaza extends before you, completely free from the bustle of daytime trade. You find a broad, dry stone ledge near the main doorway and sit down, adjusting your warm wool blanket securely around your shoulders. From this position, the stillness of the night is complete, deep, and continuous. Your eyelids feel incredibly heavy, deeply influenced by the calm, orderly atmosphere of this historic custom house. Every muscle in your body has completely released its hold on tension, and your limbs feel profoundly relaxed against the solid stone support. The dark sky, the clean air, and the absolute lack of motion in the courtyard all assist in bringing your mind to a state of total rest. You are safe, protected, and free to enter a deep sleep. Continuing along the cobblestone lane, your eyes trace the solid brick outlines of the old merchant storage rooms. These long, silent buildings house the dry spices, barrels of tea, and bolts of heavy linen cloth that arrived on the grand sailing ships during the previous weeks. The thick wooden shutters are bolted firmly from the inside, and the heavy iron padlocks on the primary gates show a dark, cold surface under the dim light of the high moon. The air carries a very subtle, pleasant aroma of ground cinnamon, dried cloves, and aged oak wood, lingering gently in the cool fog. There are no night watchmen moving down this corridor, no wagons shifting goods on the stone pathway, and no cargo logs left exposed on the external shipping desks. Everything is arranged in perfect, unchanging rows, offering a visual testament to absolute preservation. You can feel the quiet strength of these brick structures,
grounding your presence and providing a peaceful sanctuary from all time concerns. Your footsteps remain soft and rhythmic as you approach the old cooperage workshop, where the master barrel makers construct the heavy staves for sea voyages. The wide wooden double doors are closed and locked with a thick iron bar, sealing away the tools of the trade. Looking through the multi-pane glass windows, you can perceive the long workbench, covered in a thin, undisturbed layer of clean sawdust. The iron hooping tools, wood planes, and heavy mallets are all organized meticulously in their designated wall racks. Several completed white oak barrels stand in the corner, stacked in stable, unmoving pyramids that will remain untouched until the morning crew arrives. The deep silence within the workshop is total, with no hammers striking metal, no timber being shaped, and no crackle of heat from the central bending furnace. This complete suspension of manual labor creates a profound sense of relief, inviting your mind to mirror the stillness of the workshop. Leaving the cooperage behind, the lane brings you to the small stone bridge that spans the narrow tidal creek, feeding into the eastern basin. The dark water underneath is completely smooth, resembling a sheet of black glass that mirrors the soft, white glow of the distant moon, hidden behind the high fog. There are no ripples along the edges of the stone pillars, and the small wooden fishing dinghies tied to the nearby posts remain absolutely stationary, floating without a single movement on the calm tide. The low stone walls of the bridge feel solid and cool under your hand as you pause for a brief moment to look down at the unmoving water. The absolute lack of currents, waves, or wind creates a protective boundary of quietness that envelops your entire body. The physical world is completely at peace, and you are entirely free to let go of any remaining tension. Crossing the bridge, you enter the historic district of the sailmakers, a collection of wide, two-story timber buildings with broad lofts, designed for spreading out thousands of yards of heavy canvas. The large windows are dark, reflecting only the steady mist of the midnight air. Inside these wide spaces, heavy iron sewing needles rest in their oiled leather cases, and the great rolls of unblemished sailcloth are stacked securely along the back walls. The faint scent of clean flax, beeswax, and natural hemp rope fills the surrounding air, creating a comforting sense of simple, honest materials at rest. There are no workers pulling heavy fabric across the floorboards, no sound of metal shears cutting through canvas, and no urgent orders being prepared for arriving vessels. The complete stillness of the sailcloth lofts provides an atmosphere of absolute resolution, confirming that all duties for this day are finished. You follow the winding path toward the old print shop, a quaint brick building where the town's weekly maritime journals and shipping announcements are produced. The great iron printing press stands entirely motionless in the center of the main room, visible through the clean front window pane. The individual lead letters are sorted neatly into their wooden cases, and the ink rollers are resting in their clean ceramic trays, free from any active dye. The long sheets of dry white paper are stacked evenly on the drying racks, completely still in the stable indoor air. The quiet nature of this building, which normally hums with the steady rhythm of news and communication, emphasizes the absolute peace that has overtaken the entire Colonial port. The news of the world has stopped moving, the announcements are completed, and the night belongs entirely to quiet restoration.
Moving past the print shop, you encounter the central marketplace square, a wide-open plaza bordered by low stone colonnades that host the daytime stalls of merchants and farmers. The wooden tables and display benches are cleared of all produce, fish, and dry goods, standing clean and empty under the shadow of the brick market house. The large iron weighing scale in the center of the square is locked in its downward position, completely secure from any movement or handling. The stone floor of the plaza is free from footsteps, and the large canvas umbrellas used to shade the stalls from the sun are folded tightly and stored away in the wooden lockboxes. This wide, silent space provides a sense of boundless openness and clarity, allowing your thoughts to expand and then gently dissolve into the absolute stillness of the midnight hour. At the edge of the market square stands the town's old apothecary shop, a historic building with small glass jars arranged in perfect symmetry along the interior shelves. Through the window, you can see the porcelain mortars and pestles sitting clean on the polished counter, and the small scales balanced perfectly in their wooden boxes. The soft, herbal fragrance of dried lavender, chamomile flowers, and peppermint leaves drifts faintly through the door seams, offering a deeply soothing aroma that promotes a sense of internal calm and physical relaxation. There are no remedies being mixed, no ledger entries being made, and no customers seeking assistance in the quiet night. The apothecary is at rest, providing a comforting reminder that the natural world supports your healing and sleep. Your journey continues toward the Colonial courthouse.
The cobblestones beneath your feet are cool and damp, with the midnight mist of 1790. Every step you take down this deserted New England coastal lane feels like a gentle departure from the modern world, drawing you deeper into a time where nights were governed only by the tides and the stars. The faint, rhythmic washing of the ocean against the heavy timber pylons of the wharf creates a steady, unchanging pulse that matches the slow rhythm of your own breathing. As you look toward the shoreline, the great merchant vessels lie perfectly motionless, their massive wooden hulls cradled by the dark, mirror-like water. The great canvas sails that caught the Atlantic winds by day are now tightly furled against the yards, bound in heavy hemp ropes that creak softly, ever so softly, as the ships rock in place. It is a sound of absolute security, a gentle lullaby born of wood, rope, and water, designed to remind your mind that all journeys for the day have ended, and all travelers have found their rest. You walk past the rows of old colonial storefronts, their dark glass windows reflecting the silver luminescence of the crescent moon. Behind those panes lie quiet workshops, the cooperage, the sailmaker's loft, the apothecary, all wrapped in profound silence, holding the faint smells of beeswax, dried lavender, and cut pine. There are no lights inside, no voices, and no tasks left unfinished. The entire economy of the town has paused, surrendering completely to the mandatory peace of the midnight hour. The path leads you gradually upward toward the stone clock tower that overlooks the eastern edge of the bay. The structure rises against the starlit sky like a benevolent guardian, its dark granite blocks weathered by generations of ocean gales. As you approach the entrance, the massive oak door stands slightly ajar, releasing a soft, ambient warmth that carries the rich fragrance of aged paper and dried ink. Stepping inside, you find yourself at the base of a wide, spiral wooden staircase. The air in the tower is still and perfectly balanced, free from the chill of the coastal breeze. With absolute slowness, you begin to ascend, your footsteps muffled by the thick timber of the steps. With each step you take, the distance between you and the worries of the waking world grows wider, until the thoughts of tomorrow dissolve into the ancient atmosphere of the tower. Reaching the upper observatory chamber, the space opens into a magnificent circular room surrounded by high, arched windows. Through these openings, the vast panorama of the Atlantic Ocean stretches out into infinity, its black waves shimmering under the weight of thousands of distant constellations. At the center of the room stands a monumental brass telescope, its polished metal catching the amber glow of a solitary oil lamp resting on a heavy mahogany desk. Beside the desk, an old astronomer sits quietly in a high-backed leather chair. He wears a tailored dark wool coat from a bygone era, his silver hair catching the ambient moonlight. His movements are slow, deliberate, and entirely free of haste. He turns a small brass wheel on the side of the telescope, causing the great instrument to align with a distant star cluster. The tiny, metallic clicking of the internal gears is incredibly rhythmic and soothing, sounding like the gentle ticking of a pocket watch buried deep beneath a velvet cushion. Spread across the table are large, hand-drawn star charts and naval maps, their edges gently curled with age. The ink lines trace the paths of wandering planets and the ancient names of celestial bodies. The old astronomer pauses, looking out the window with the expression of absolute peace. He does not speak, for words are unnecessary in this place of deep silence. His presence alone is a reassurance that the universe is operating in perfect order, and that it is safe for you to let go of your vigilance. You find a comfortable bench near the opposite window, lined with soft wool blankets. As you sit down, the warmth from the small brick hearth in the corner washes over you, relaxing every muscle in your back and shoulders. The rhythmic ticking of the tower's great clock mechanism echoes from the floor below, a deep, resonant, and steady sound that anchors the room in a state of timeless tranquility. Looking back out at the harbor, you see the single lantern on the distant dock slowly swinging in the wind, casting a long, lazy arc of golden light across the dark water. The arc moves back and forth, guiding your eyes into a heavy, comfortable state of drowsiness. The sky above seems to lower itself like a dark velvet canopy, wrapping the entire Colonial town, the silent ships, the old library, and your tired mind in a protective embrace of absolute rest. The astronomer gently closes his leather-bound journal, placing his quill down on the wooden stand. The ink is dry. The observations for the night are complete. He leans back in his chair, closing his eyes as the steady warmth of the room lulls him into a gentle slumber. The flame of the oil lamp burns low, flickering softly before settling into a dim, steady ember that barely alters the peaceful darkness of the room. The deep bronze bell at the top of the tower begins to strike the midnight hour, but the sound is modified by the heavy stone walls, reaching your ears as a soft, musical vibration rather than a sharp ring. It vibrates through the timber floor, through the wool blankets, and through your body, dissolving the last remaining traces of tension in your mind. The world of 1790 is completely asleep, suspended in a beautiful historical dream, and you are free to join it. Sleep now. Let the darkness carry you away. Sleep deep. Sleep well.